Well, looks like light has finally shed on Dangerous Driving 2. Or should I say, Wreckreation, now that its name has changed. As you can easily tell by the previous title name, it was going to be the sequel game to Dangerous Driving. Development began in February 2020, and now here we are in late August 2022. It's been 2.5 years since this game was in development. Now, if you've been subscribed to my channel ever since I first released my Dangerous Driving Online racing videos, you likely wanted my thoughts about Dangerous Driving 2 as well. I was extremely anxious at first, but now it is here as Wreckreation. When I saw the trailer after getting an email from TFE on the 12th, I was completely mixed on it at first. But then the IGN gameplay footage came out a short time afterwards. Little did I know what I was in for. And what do you know? A lot of interesting stuff to talk about. Anyone else find it strange that it only takes 2.5 years just to make your initial thoughts about the game pretty old? Yeah, it does, but you know what? Who the hell cares about that? We got some new stuff to talk about. With how I'm doing this, I've gathered my information scoop on their website and going off what they revealed, so I apologize in advance if it looks like I'm accidentally plagiarizing. I'm really not. I'm just going to be going down a certain list and my own thoughts about each and every one. And as a general note, Dangerous Driving will be referred to as DD when necessary. With all that said, let's dive into it. Now, for the first time ever in a Burnout-like successor, there is a track editor mode where you can use the open world to put in whatever you want to make your own track layouts, crash junctions, or just anything in particular. For instance, you can put down police stations to add police cars in the traffic, wooden ramps to jump your car off of, walls to smash into, and really goofy parts such as roads that you can put up in the sky, and a giant cow is shown in a trailer. And that's not a lie either. Go see the trailer if you haven't. There actually is a giant cow that you can place down on the road. Endless possibilities, just like Hot Wheels Unleashed's track builder mode. Besides that feature, I can say that it actually is different. I mean, we've been doing the whole closed circuit track racing up until now, I suppose. So, I will give it credit for being a step up from Dangerous Driving, even if it's not exactly what others wanted. Now, another thing that was revealed on both the official TFE and Wreckreation websites is the fact that you can customize your ride to whatever your heart desires. They didn't show that in the gameplay footage, but it has yet to be seen in the actual game. What I really freaking love about it is the fact that you can customize not just the paint colors, finishes, and wheels, but a lot of other things such as boost flames, engine sounds, window tint, front lights, rear lights, and that is so freaking awesome, expanding the possibilities as much as you can. Sorry about that, I stutter a bit. Car customization is like one of my very big peaks of interest in racing games. You can customize your car in millions of different ways to make you who you want to be in the game, which is definitely something I can heavily appreciate. And another thing that I can also greatly appreciate. In Dangerous Driving, the drifting was just so basic and mostly linear instead of natural like in the alpha for that game. But in Wreckreation, it has been greatly upped in polish and quality. It now feels like you're actually drifting the thing instead of having super duper grip and doing perfectly concave skids. And you can actually control the drifting. It looks more realistic too, which, thank you. Why didn't they keep this in the early build of Dangerous Driving before? I 100% appreciate that. I mean, for me who's been part of Burnout ever since the second game, point of impact more exactly. I don't think I need to do simple steering through pretty much every corner. At least, I hope I don't. But for anyone else who wants to get into it as their first arcade car game, it's a great way to know how to tackle corners better and learn to drift. That's a big plus to the gameplay. So hopefully the rest of the development keeps that in. And from what I've seen in the IGN interview, yeah. With that footage in comparison to DD, it does seem like a big step up. Before I get into the open world that we've seen so far, because yeah, we know TFE worked on that map, it's 440 square kilometers big, we get it. I will talk about two other things real quick, the damage detail and takedown camera. We'll start with the latter. The takedown cameras are back, which are both a blessing and a curse. If you really think about it. Now, unlike dangerous driving where if you get a takedown, the camera does an instantaneous frame-perfect pan to the wreck that you took someone down in. But in Wreckreation, it is different. On the positive side, it is a much smoother camera pan to the wreck and back. Now on the negative side, the game speed while it's showing the wreck is dreadfully slow, which means if you take down someone and something happens that can throw off your game in that time frame, well, I guess you shouldn't have done that in the first place. So yeah, it has its pros and cons. Hopefully there is an option to turn it off just like in DD. And in all honesty, I'm not really much into the takedown camera function in Burnout 3 and later. I mean, while it does look cool, all you really end up with is a mess that the game gets yourself in and it screws you up. Which, yeah, I've experienced that before. That's why I turn it off myself. The vehicle damage detail is much more greater compared to dangerous driving. Like, instead of just roughed up hoods, shattered glass, and tires popping off, there's more to it. Rather than the vehicle staying perfectly together even during a road rage event, the car now slowly deteriorates and deforms the more it gets pushed around. So the damage detail is there. The trunk now pops open, the hood now gets crunched up, and so on. As for the open world itself, we've so far seen some of the forest and coastal parts of it in the footage, and I have to say that I really like how it looks. I remember a certain bridge that the car drives over that was also in the pre-alpha video back at PAX East 2020. Anyone remember that? Frankly, I'll probably just drive around the open world for a good while before I would even do a single race. It does seem immersive and includes a crap ton of billboards, totaling in 332 exactly, which I am going to try and smash through. That seems like around triple the amount of Burnout Paradise's billboards, which was 120. Yeah, that's plus 175.66% more. At least the game now has a radar that shows where they are. I mean, they could use more discoverables if they wanted to, like gates or special jumps, but the game is still in its early stage, so that's subject to change. Where you can get to and smash the billboards seems self-explanatory most of the time because the ramps are in plain view instead of having to look for areas that lead to them, like what you had to do in Burnout Paradise. So, if you have the guts or skill to do so, you could hit the billboards immediately before anything else. Does that mean you don't really have to get any of the faster vehicles in the game or something? If they are making a career mode, which they definitely should. I mean, it's not a Burnout game without a single player career. I mean, just the thought of that is interesting though. Yeah, it may give off a no sense of progression vibe, but that's a concept that kind of hasn't been a thing before. And I say kinda because Burnout Paradise Remastered had all the DLC in one package, and you can use it right from the get-go. So it'd be interesting to drive like sedan cars or something, and even just use the slowest car in the game. Hit the ramp at speed, and boom! You got it with no real effort. There's quite a very large map of the entire open world area, and now I kind of see why they keep emphasizing this so much in the game. There's also a time of day mechanic, a weather system for the track editor mode. There's also different cars that you can drive instead of the signature muscle car that the gameplay footage has been using ever since the game's pre-alpha stage, such as a Viper, Camaro, and even a McLaren if I'm not mistaken. Where are the Indy cars if you don't mind me asking? But yes, there seems to be a lot of improvements over what Dangerous Driving had, and that's what Burnout fans, including myself, were hoping for from an indie dev team like them. So I will give them merit for that. Higher quality improvements that were desperately needed in Dangerous Driving, such as more detailed vehicle damage, ability to ride against the guardrails, and you can drive in a massive 440 square kilometers open area. So I will give a double thumbs up for that. As for the gameplay itself, it is more enjoyable than Dangerous Driving. The steering seems to be more heavier than how they normally handled, and again, the drifting is more controllable, looks more natural, and so on. Regarding the traffic, there appears to be very little of it, which makes the place a bit barren and empty. I hope there will be more traffic vehicles to be added in races so that it has more life to it. And from what I've seen in the IGN gameplay footage, you can just plow through the traffic cars and not crash out once to keep going. But even with that, I'm not entirely sure how that works because in Dangerous Driving, you could touch a single traffic vehicle and crash out from even the slightest impact. Here, you don't crash out at all from even the harshest collision into a small vehicle. Maybe that's a sign that traffic checking could be in the game, but I doubt it. At least there's more traffic variety this time. One thing that I kinda don't like is the fact that the AI is very aggressive. I understand that the development for this game is still going, but wow. The AI is like relentless while fighting. They don't leave you alone. They will not leave you alone. I mean, I understand why, but the AI shouldn't be this aggressive, especially for an early vehicle class. Normally, one of the many points of racing games is that the AI should start on an easy difficulty level and gradually increase in skill as the player makes progress. The difficulty could be tuned like that for the better. I mean, that's just my 2 cents on it. Another quick thing to add to the pile is the online free drive, where you drive around the open world with other players around the globe. In that IGN interview, there is a flag that indicates where that corresponding person resides in the world, something Burnout Paradise didn't have. That's a cool feature, so if you want to know where one of your friends lives in the world, you can just hop on free drive with them and then the flag will show their country or continent or whatever. So that's a cool feature too. For the soundtrack, I really can't say a lot about it because we don't have the full list of songs yet. But at least they were able to get an actual official soundtrack for it, which is nice. Spotify integration is back if you don't like that and want something else to play instead. Or you can be like me and just turn it off if you want to avoid copyright problems or something. But yeah, in my perspective, this game seems to have a lot more focus on creativity, customization, exploration, and socializing, which those things are very good for this kind of series. A lot of lazy people don't want to be forced to do a rehash of Paradise's Reborn challenges anymore and have other people just relax and soak in the atmosphere of the world and not get bullied by a Knight Rider knockoff because that's never fun to deal with. Hopefully that doesn't become a thing in this game. We've had our fill of the GT Nighthawk. We don't need it in this game. Or at least a successor of it. So for anyone who is getting into the Burnout series that is new or inexperienced, this is shaping up to be a great place to start. Let them enjoy the game before taking it online, and if they need a helping hand, and there's a very large amount of Burnout fans to ask around for assistance, we're always here if any of you need us. That's pretty much all I have gathered. I have a lot of things to look forward to, and I'm a little happy that I was doubting it, saying, oh, this game's not going to be great because there's not really much about it that's interesting. The only gripes I have that's kind of like pissing on it is that the graphics look below average to a lot of other things. They're not bad per se, but you know, they could be better, I suppose. The busted parts of the vehicles do tend to flicker and the wrecks occasionally if the game has too much action going on for it to handle, and the fighting appears to be the same as in Dangerous Driving, but I'll let those slide for now since it's still in early development. There's plenty of other things besides being a combat and wreck detail horror that we can focus on that actually do make this game interesting and enjoyable. Dare I say, I might end up making online racing videos for this game too. But only time will tell. It's going to take a little bit more than that to push me over the edge. However, you guys definitely caught my attention. For the people who still think that Three Fields Entertainment has no talent on their own just because of their previous projects, this game proves otherwise.